Greetings, fellow Terrans. Professor McKee here with the tutorial for Terra Invicta. We finance professors have hobbies, and one of mine is playing Terra Invicta. I'm creating a collection of tips I've learned while playing this game in case you want to have a study break. Today's guide is about what early game research to do besides what you need for the initial push into developing your space infrastructure. Terra Invicta is a great game, but the tech tree is simply massive, and it's hard to know what you should pick and when you should pick it. So I'm going to walk through some of those key early techs you should prioritize in the early game to help you on Earth. So there are three ones I'm going to focus on. There are the technology that unlocks your 5th councilor, clandestine cells. There's the ones that give you more organizations to buy on the marketplace. And there are ones that give you more control point capacity. So the reason why these are so valuable, well, hopefully the clandestine cells one is quite obvious. You get an extra councilor, you get extra actions. Councilor's stats, command, admin, and persuasion increase your control point capacity. Having your 5th and then your 6th councilor is always really good. Now, orgs are great because they can increase the statistics of your councilors. They have all sorts of bonuses and benefits that can help you. And then finally, you have more control point capacity, which means you can control more countries. Countries produce things like research, money, boost, mission control, and all that great stuff. Okay, so one of the first starting techs is We Are Not Alone. Once this completes, clandestine cells unlocks. So complete We Are Not Alone. It'll complete automatically because it's pre-selected, and then you can complete clandestine cells. I would highly prioritize this because the 5th councilor is really good to have. And the next ones are for the orgs. So we have one tech with arrival economics and one project unlocked by arrival domestic politics. The reason having extra orgs in your market is good is because, let me show you the exact description of this tech here. An additional 5 orgs become available each month. Orgs are what the orgs that show up in your market here are random. There are some orgs that are really great and really powerful. There's some orgs that are completely useless. You could get complete junk, or you can get great things. The more roles you have each month, the more chances you have for some good stuff. Now, you used to be able to use a mission called Hostile Takeover, which I don't think either of these have. Oh no, she has it. So you would steal an org from a different faction. Recent patches have made this harder to do. You can still do it, but it's not as easy. And people used to run around just spamming and hostile takeover, stealing all the best orgs from other factions. You can't do it as easily now. So instead, you have to. That just means the marketplace bonuses are even more important because your random draw is a more likely source for good orgs. So arrival markets and institutional outreach are the 2 projects that unlock the 5 additional orgs. Each one unlocks a different one. They are unlocked by arrival economics, arrival domestic politics. So it's 1,000 social science for both projects, and then 2,000 or 2,500 in social science for the global techs that unlock them. And both of these global techs, once you finish We Are Not Alone, these guys will become available. Then thirdly, we have the early techs that boost your control point capacity. Again, this is something you would like to see. You'll very quickly fill this up, and you'll want more. You always want more. So the first one is corridor diplomacy. Corridor diplomacy is not guaranteed, but it's a high chance to unlock as long as you contribute 20% to arrival in international relations, you should get it. It costs 1,000 social science. It increases control point by 10. So you go from 150 to 160. Also, improving relations between countries, the cooldown on that is reduced by 20%. So if you're in Europe and you're trying to add countries to the European Union, there's a cooldown every time you improve relations. This tech will make that go faster. Now, it's guaranteed, but hopefully you'll get it. It'll cost 1,000 and then 5,000 social science for the global tech, and this is again unlocked by We Are Not Alone. So one sort of way I like to think about this in terms of efficiency is how many research points am I going to spend per extra control point that I'm adding. So I spend an extra 6,000, 5,000 plus 1,000, assuming I spend everything on a global tech. I won't actually, so it'll be better. And 6,000 divided by 10 is 600 research per extra control point. Okay, we're going to compare those numbers to the additional techs. Next one is transnational coordination. This is information science tech. It is guaranteed. It costs 10,000, but we have 40 control point capacity. You get it through advanced neural networks and then photonic computing. So it's expensive. You will have to pay 16,500, all of it in information science, 6,500 through the global tech, and then the 10,000 for transnational coordination. But 16,500 divided by 40 means you're paying 412 and a half research per control point capacity. It's more efficient than corridor diplomacy. Also, advanced neural network unlocks things like skunkworks. There's a bunch of extra stuff it unlocks, which it could be administrative nodes are great. You gain control point capacity if they're on low Earth orbit. So there's a lot of good stuff you would want to unlock here anyways. Third one is global command structure. Social science tech costs 2,500. You get an extra 40. You need to get independence movements, which requires domestic politics, and sociology, which both require We Are Not Alone. Now, you were already going to get domestic politics for the organizations because it unlocks the institutional outreach. But the 5,000 from independence movements, the 2,500 from sociology, and the 2,500 from global command structure, ignoring domestic politics because we're already researching that, it's going to be 10,000 more divided by 40. You get 250 research per control point capacity. So this is even more efficient than our first two. Now there's a couple other additional techs that also increase control point capacity. Management research. This is a generic one that is unlocked from the start. You pay 1,000 science, you get 5. So this is 1,000 divided by 5. That's 200 per month. The first run is actually really efficient, and relative to say the 400 or 600 from some of the unique techs, it's still actually pretty efficient for the first couple of times you run it. But just because it looks efficient doesn't mean you actually want to do it that much. I mean, eventually you might want to do it, but it doesn't advance the global tech tree, because independence movements, well, that's a bad one. That's a bad example actually, but like domestic politics unlocks all sorts of global techs that you might want. Same thing with the other ones I've mentioned. Rival international relations unlocks a bunch of techs, unity movements. So while researching a generic project might be a little bit more efficient the first few times, advancing the tech tree is valuable too. So I wouldn't recommend going for it until after you've taken all the regular techs, and then if you somehow have excess research, you'd go for that. And then there's one last one, civilian photonic computing. This is a pretty low unlock chance. See, it's 40%. It's unlocked by photonic computing and arrival economics, both of which you're already going to research. Remember, this is for our advanced neural network. And it gives you an extra 10, but it costs 10,000. So it's costing 1,000 per control point cap in terms of efficiency. It's the least efficient of all of these. It also has a low chance to unlock. Now, again, if you've got extra room for it, an extra 10 control point capacity is hard to throw away. It's just a dead end kind of project. It doesn't do much besides control point capacity, and it's not super efficient. Now, as for the exact timing of all of these global techs, it's a little hard to give super specific advice because the AI will be picking some of these global techs, and so you can't choose it, and then it kind of depends on what the AI picks, what you should pick. But I have a few things that are pretty much always going to be working. So when you start the game, put everything into We Are Not Alone. Ignore these two. The AI will finish them. You want to finish this as fast as possible because that will unlock clandestine cells. You will then control this one. You might not control these two. No big deal. When you're then picking your next non-space sort of tech, there's a lot of those space techs you might want. Arrival economics and domestic politics both unlock a 1,000 level project that gives you the 5 extra orgs. But as you can see, one is 2,500, one is 2,000. Domestic politics is 500 cheaper than economics. Now, as an economist myself, I can make a joke here about economics as a more rigorous discipline that requires more research than political science, but I will refrain. Also, another reason to do this, besides it being a little bit cheaper, domestic politics unlocks independence movements, which you would also need for your global command structure. Arrival economics, all it helps you advance towards is space commerce and international development, neither of which are super important very early. Basically, it doesn't block anything important, and domestic politics does unlock something important. And of course, this is where the political science professors would make fun of us economists for having research that is less useful. And then thirdly, and this is kind of more general advice, remember there's a penalty for researching two categories of the same, two projects or global techs of the same category, or 3. The more you research the same category, the more diluted your bonuses get. So don't pick 3 social sciences and try to research all 3. You're going to dilute your bonuses. Don't do that. Spread it out. And do you try to require multipliers for these categories? You might have noted that basically every key tech here is either social science or sometimes information. So a social science category is a really nice early game. Information bonuses are also useful too. So if you can acquire additional multipliers for them, generally speaking, one of the best ways for that is through organizations. Like this one gives you energy science. Then that's going to help your research more too. So next time you start out in Terra Invicta, you now know some of the key techs you need to pursue first to help your ground game. If you found this video helpful for your study break, please comment, like, and/or subscribe so that others can find this video too. Happy not studying or dealing with the alien invasion.